Hi, everybody. I'm Cindy Skalicki, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Getting to the Point, where we bring in an expert who is awesome at whatever he or she does and ask that person to share 3 key points about their work that can help you in your entrepreneurial or small business or professional journey. And today I'm really excited to have with me Carl.dierschow. Hi, Carl. How are you doing?
Hey, good to see you again. It feels like it's been a long time.
It has in terms of in person, absolutely. Carl's the owner of Small Fish Consulting. Is that the correct name all the way, Carl?
Small Fish Business Coaching.
Small Fish Business Coaching. And Carl and I met probably real early on, I feel like, during the days of On Point Communications. In fact, I'm remembering the day that we had lunch at Fiona's Deli right at the very beginning when I connected with you and started to do some networking. And now I'm realizing I think you're the person that told me to even come to 1 Million Cups to begin with. How do you like that?
It might be my fault. Who knows?
It might be. But Carl and I have been running in the same circles so frequently ever since that day, doing all kinds of fun, collaborative community events, like all the startup weeks we've run into each other at. We're very frequent participants at 1 Million Cups and speakers, and we have similar coaching strengths. So Carl, why don't you give us the quick 1-2 punch on your business and what your focus is, and then we'll dive into our 3 things.
Sure. Yeah. So I do business coaching with owners and leaders in small businesses. And that for small business, that's primarily, say, under 250 employees, because everybody has a different definition of what that is.
Sure.
But I specialize in working with people who are developing business or purpose-driven kinds of businesses, people who really want to make a bigger impact in the world, who want to make a better society, who want to improve the planet, however they want to do this. Sometimes it's through their business models, sometimes it's through the products that they sell, whatever. But these kinds of people are the ones that are really going to be the future of business in this world. And some of the old models just are starting to show their age. And so I'm excited to be there with people who are really out doing this amazing stuff.
That's awesome. I think the purpose-driven piece of what you're talking about is hitting home, I'm sure, with a lot of our viewers as we get more and more companies rooted in that social impact and wanting to make a difference. We know millennials and the age groups that are entering the buying power are looking for places where they can make a difference with their dollar. And it's more important to the generations underneath us than ever, really. I just have a question that popped into my head as I was listening to you. How long have you been at this particular consulting business with Small Fish, and what were you doing before? Was there some kind of prompting that made you go after that purpose-driven piece?
So I've been with Small Fish doing business coaching for 10 years now, almost coming up to my anniversary there.
Nice.
Before that, I spent 10 years doing coaching inside a large multinational company. And that was an outgrowth of, I have been going up through the management ranks and really wasn't very satisfied with where that was taking me personally. And I came to some awakenings about what I wanted to do with my career. And so I worked with a career coach for a little bit, and we had some great progress. That was back in the late 90s. And then I ended up trying to work my way into a coaching position in the company. Coaching positions did not exist at that time. And so my first job was to create the position so that I could fill it. Never did quite get it to the point where it said coach on my business card. But I got a lot of experience, got some in-depth education and schooling around coaching. And so when I got laid off in 2009, it's like, well, let's go out and do it for real.
Let's
do my own thing rather than trying to be inside another company.
I love it. Well, Carl, you always bring fresh things to anything that you talk about when you present at groups. You're so personal and personable. And today we're gonna dive into a topic that offline you and I sort of sifted through and realized we have a lot of overlap and experience. And so we're gonna go ahead and touch on that purpose-driven nature of things. Do you want to go ahead and tell us the three things we're going to talk about, and then we'll just kind of head into number one, which is they all have to do with value, right?
Yeah. So the scope of what we were talking about here is that idea of having a mission or a set of values or a purpose or whatever you want to call it of your organization. And it's much deeper than just saying what kind of products do we build and sell and what kind of customers do we serve. That's an outgrowth of this foundational work that we do. And it's where I always start with my clients. And many times people have something in their heart and in their mind, but they have never actually written it down and articulated it, or it comes out in dribs and drabs. And so,
Yeah.
so anyway, that's kind of the space. And there's three attributes I wanted to explore for that. First one is what's the value to customers? Second is what's the value to us as a company, as an organization? And the third one is what's the value to the world? So, however you define world, it could be the universe, it could be your community, whatever. But
Right.
large.
I love that. And I do, as many of the viewers may already know, I run brand programs as well as do public speaking coaching. But that word that you said, articulate, they don't know how to articulate it, is
Right.
it's just hits right at the center, because we think we understand what we're doing and what we've built, and we think that we are communicating our brand when we talk to others. And yet sometimes if you were to quiz the person you just gave that elevator speech to, they may not come back at you with the things that you thought they should or would have. And so, you and I are able to sit with teams and really get at the essence of that company and the value. What are you asking people to buy into, whether it's a belief, a product, benefit, whatever that might be. So I love it. It's really valuable work. Sorry for the play on words there, but it's true. So let's go ahead and start out with number point one, value to the customers. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I put customers first, not because they're the end all and we can ignore the others, but we have to recognize that customers are the reason why we can sustainably be in business.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you're a nonprofit, maybe you don't want to call them customers, that's fine. Whoever it is that gets value out of the work that we do. We are here doing some added value, and we are delivering that to somebody that appreciates it. And in return, we get money back. And not money isn't evil in and of itself.
Right.
I think we focus on it too much sometimes, but money is the reason why we can continue doing what we're going to do. Now, if you want to throw away the money and just say, I'm going to go do a hobby, that's fine. Okay. But that's not sustainable. It's sustainable as long as you don't run out of money from your day job. So you got to go get a day job so that you can do your hobby, which is fine. We all need hobbies. That's cool.
Right. It's good.
But if you're going to be in a business, and if you want it to be sustainable, if you want to be around a year or 2 or 10 from now, we've got to worry about what is it that is valued by the customer. Okay. And so that's why that's so fundamentally important to what we do. And
yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say, if there's people watching right now, they're like, oh yeah, I totally need to be able to articulate what the value is to my customers. Do you have any questions you might, posit to others who are, how do people do that? How do they determine what the value is to their customers? How do you kind of guide people in that step?
Well, I can tell when I talk to somebody, whether they're using the language of we deliver this cool widget. So we love this. This is fantastic. This is amazing. Has all the greatest features and stuff like that. And I have not yet heard one thing about what customers value about that. Maybe they liked it because they like the color, or maybe they like the functionality, or the fact that, you know, they couldn't
How
even
it
have a
feels in your
product like this
hands.
before.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
So, you know, when people are getting this, what they do is they start switching over into the customer's language. And you can tell when they're talking about an actual customer that they were talking to. You know, it's, you know, was talking to Josephine the other day, and she said she absolutely loves us because of what? Okay, that's now we're capturing the essence
the
of the
benefit.
customer value,
Right,
right?
right.
And guess what? You've got to actually talk to customers, and you've got to actually listen to customers. You don't want to, you know, it's not just all talking and selling your value proposition.
Right.
It's about understanding what's their situation and what's the unique reason why they're going to come and give you money for what you do.
Exactly. And what I'm hearing, and kind of, I'm framing this kind of a, maybe a, like an insight summary sentence is, you know, it's kind of like in a sales conversation even, or, you know, you and I listen, we're both Sage advisors here in Fort Collins. We listen to a lot of people pitch their businesses. So it's the difference between going at your audience with your new smartphone app you've developed and just throwing at your audience all the features of it, instead of talking to the audience or potential customers about what they're going to be able to do if they use your new product or your new app. You know, they're going to save time, they're going to save money, they're going to have access to biking trails, or whatever the niches of the product that they've built. So yeah, really being customer centric is critical. So
right.
excellent.
So that's why I wanted to make sure that we had customers there.
Yes,
Now the
sure.
second one
Right.
is what's the value for us. So when I say us, I mean us as an organization, us
Right.
as a team. It may include employees, contractors, partners, investors, you know, but it's us who are on the value delivery side.
Right.
Okay. And so the question is, what is the value to us for what we're doing? So a great example is we have lots of companies that deliver great products, but they burn their employees out, or they burn their management team out. And that, again, it's not sustainable. You might be able to do it for a year or two, but you're going to have to get to the point where we know what we're doing and why we're doing it. That means we're connected to the value that's delivered to customers, yes, but there's going to be a deeper purpose than that.
Right.
For instance, I was talking to the owner of a local brewery a couple of weeks ago.
Perfect.
And her foundation is, we want to be an integral part of the community that we are in. Now it's interesting, she didn't grow up in the community, she's actually an import. Okay. But you know, she saw a need, and she started talking to people and realized that this little town has no brewery of its own. It's right next to Fort Collins that has 1,000 breweries, but you know, she wanted to say, so it's about a social space. It's about being integrated into the way people think and what they need. Yeah, you know, we want people to say, this is my watering hole, and have that sense of ownership and belief about it, right? And when we talk to our employees, they can totally get passionate about it. Right. So for instance, one of the things they do is that they're a pet-friendly environment. Okay, some breweries do that, some don't. And they give lots of PR to charities that do animal shelters and things like that. They give away a lot of money. They do cooperative things. So they'll have a special day where, you know, everybody can bring in their dog and we'll have sort of a little fun dog showy kind of
Cute.
thing. No
Yeah.
big deal, you know, but it's a way to give back to this community of dog lovers in this
Mm-hmm.
case,
Mm-hmm.
but also connect with the community.
Right.
Now, if
Oh,
you go and I'll talk to customers, for a typical brewery, they'll talk first about the beers that are provided, and then there's a
sure.
friendly environment and,
Products.
you
Right.
know, all that kind of stuff. And that's great. So you can't do this and have lousy beer. You'd
Mm-hmm.
also have to
Right.
do that. But it is a powerful differentiator. It's a
Mm-hmm.
powerful message for your customers. And it's a powerful motivator
Mm-hmm.
for your employees. So their team is incredibly loyal because this is something they don't get anywhere else. You know, they get to use their expertise in the brewing industry, maybe if they have any. I mean, some people do. They've got like a head brewer, right?
Yep.
But the rest of the employees, it's something that they grow into, but they were attracted by the fact that they said, you know, this is in my community.
Mm-hmm.
And I love these guys. I've heard so many good things about them. And I love animals too. So
Yep.
they go and ask their employees, what animal charities do you think we should give to next?
That's
They
great.
ask the employees. You know, it's not a top-down, board-driven kind of thing.
Right. Well, it's all about culture and what you're
Yeah.
creating in your company. It reminds me of an episode of How I Built This that I listened to from back in like late December. It was Kurt Richardson of Otter Products, and
Oh, yeah.
he is all about culture and all about growing to give. And they provide like 3 full days, paid days every year for their employees to go out and give back, do whatever you want. It's not mandated, but we really encourage you because that's built on the mission and the culture
Yeah,
of
in
the
this case,
company.
you know, with OtterBox, it's that they are all about giving back to the community.
Yeah,
And
and that's a
actually,
lot
I
of the reason.
talked to them
Yeah.
when they were in the process of expanding from Fort Collins down into the Denver area.
Okay.
And they had a really interesting discussion internally
Mm-hmm.
about when we say give back to the community, do we mean Fort Collins, because that's where we started,
Okay.
or do we mean the community that our customers are in, but that's like every place in the world,
Right.
or do we mean the community that our employees live in? And
Interesting.
they finally decided that it was that last one
Okay.
that they would focus on. And so
Okay.
wherever they have a little cluster of employees, as they grow,
Mm-hmm.
they look into how can we help these employees to be a part of their community.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so and this is one of the challenges you have as your company grows.
Yeah.
You have to tackle things like this.
Well, it's
So
almost like it's like, well, we better, you got to define your terms, right? That's oftentimes a real mess. And it's just what you said about, well, what do we really mean by community? And sometimes you have to dig a little deeper to get to those answers.
mhm,
Um, you're all on the same page about what that is. Well, I know your third point's about an even broader subject, and we kind of touched on some of that with the second point as far as the giving back. So why don't you lead us into point 3 about the value that we provide to the world?
right. And so this is recognizing that we are not just isolated here. We create this product, we deliver this product, our customers love us, we do what we do, and we're our own little box, but we're part of society.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use the phrase value to the world, and the term world is rather ambiguous, right? It's because you get to define what your world is. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you choose to say, we want to have an impact on our industry.
Okay.
Okay. So we want to change the way this industry runs. We want to be the car company that does no haggle pricing and just clean, professional sales situations no games or anything like that. That's what we want to be known for.
Mhm.
So that would be an example of we want to change the world.
Right.
Some people want to do it via a for-profit, nonprofit partnership. So if you look at somebody like Tom's Shoes, for instance, Tom's thing is that you buy a pair of shoes and they'll give another pair of shoes to some kid in Africa.
Yep.
Or the developing world, because I
Right.
think they also now do South America.
Okay.
And, you know, that's a powerful thing. And so the most effective way to do that in their case is they've got the for-profit side that does the selling shoes to you and me.
Right.
And then we have the nonprofit side so that they can get the tax benefits of being a nonprofit.
Right.
Otterbox, by the way, does the exact same thing.
Yeah, I actually know a lot of different companies that are, and I actually just talked to a friend yesterday who's interested in the same thing, like how do I set up both camps? And I think that's just a sign of people wanting to have more impact in the world, whether it's, like you said, the industry you're in, is that your world, or do you mean the global world of, you know, computing all over in every country, or, you know, what do you mean by the world? So,
well, and here's another example of that, Cindy. They, in the state of Colorado, we now have a thing, it's called a public benefit corporation.
okay.
So it's kind of in that region of for-profit, nonprofit, S Corp, C Corp, that whole space. So it's a legal structure for how you build an organization.
Okay.
And it's the last I heard, it's not in every state yet. It's a state-by-state thing. But when I talked to the guy that wrote the legislation, he said that they had about half the states have this kind of structure now. And what's different about it is that you declare when you form the company what your set of goals is. Okay, so if I'm just a normal for-profit company, my top goal is profit. Okay,
Right.
and if I have shareholders and I don't treat the shareholders as the top priority, bar none, then they can sue me, and in some cases they can even throw me out of my own company.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, but with a public benefit corporation or whatever it might be called elsewhere, what you do is you declare, you say, okay, we're going to make profit, but that's going to be balanced with, we're also benefiting the environment. And, you know, in our case, in our industry, there's a lot of environmental damage. And so we're going to do it by focusing on reuse of our materials and, okay, the things that you might do if you're environmentally sensitive. And we want to have a uniquely powerful employee culture. And so we are going to have over-the-top employee benefits, and because that's a priority to us. That's what we want to do.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you register this with the state.
Okay.
And then when your shareholders come back and look at you and say, hey, you didn't treat us as a top priority, you say, look, when you bought the stock, you knew exactly what this company was. It was publicly declared.
Profit is number one.
Well, yeah, it can be any balance you want to, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's, you get to choose.
Right. Yeah.
And so this is an example of how the world is changing. This is going pretty much under the radar. A lot of people don't know about it.
I wasn't aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's very exciting because it shows that even government can catch up with what's happening in the business world. Well, sometimes. And, you know, that's a very important development.
Yep.
Because without that kind of protection, it's very difficult for a purpose-driven company to make a go of it. Because, you know, if you have the government working against you and your investors working against you, and that's pretty bad. It goes south fast. So.
Well, I love the three little pieces you've laid out here, because I think for those who are watching, my guess is that many are going to be, you know, the startup founder, the entrepreneur, the small business owners who are on fire for what they provide, whether that's a service or what they've built in their product. But, you know, these seemingly ancillary things that come into play, like mission, purpose, brand, they can be hard to do alone. And you do need a helper to guide you through questions like the ones we just mapped out today.
Sure.
And having that sounding board is the value that you and I both bring to our clients when we are able to help them unpack the puzzle pieces.
There's so much that comes out when you have to put things into word and bounce them off somebody else.
You have to
and that makes, and you know, hopefully you're doing it with people that are mostly friendly to you.
Yes, right.
and not, you know, punch you in the nose when you say something wrong. Yeah. So you start off with your friends, and you start off with, you know, maybe work with a coach or a consultant or advisor, or maybe you have a mastermind group. That can be really powerful for these kinds of things. Yeah, that's what really helps to make this tangible and sustainable. Because I'm all about, I want my clients to stay in business for as long as they want to stay in business.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Not just burn out in a year or two.
Yep. And I think no matter what business you're in, even if you are someone like us who helps people with brand messaging, I mean, everyone, no matter what, even me, even you, we all need that outside perspective. In fact, I was laughing when I listened to Kurt Richardson. He was telling this story about how his wife is the one who came up with the company name Otterbox.
Yeah.
And I was laughing because the same thing happened to me. My husband's the one who came up with both On Point Communications and my tagline, Master the Message. I still remember sitting in the kitchen and I was like, yeah, that's perfect. You know, I mean, if you'd asked me, I would have come up with something, I would have thought too hard about it. I would have been too, you know.
And he was probably just echoing back what he heard you talking about. Right? And so it's not like he's smarter than you are or anything like that. It's that opportunity to hear what you're saying and to have somebody bounce it back to you, maybe in different words. And magic comes out that. And, you know, honestly, that's one of the reasons people work with a coach.
Yeah, you need someone to ask you those hard questions, and you need to sit there and think about responding to those. And it's just really a valuable process. So if somebody wanted to talk with you after the show here, how would they get a hold of you, Carl? What's the best way to get to you if someone would like to learn more?
Well, easiest way, of course, is smallfish.us, which is our website.
Is it Carl or do you have an email address there too?
Well, the email is carl.dierschow@smallfish.us.
Okay.
So, you know, if you can spell my name, then that's fine. But you'll put that in the notes, won't you? Well,
yeah,
very good.
I will.
The other thing that people might want to follow is my blog, which is the values-based business, where I talk about this exactly thing. I've been doing this for 7 years now. And it's valuesbased.biz. That's the URL for it. So let's capture that in the notes as well. But you know, if people want to follow what's going on, and you know, just let's have a conversation. Love to find out what people are up to, because amazing stuff is happening in the world of business.
You got it. Well, with our last 3 minutes, I have 2 quick rapid fire questions for you. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Rapid fire question number 1. Tell me the name of a person who had a really lasting impact on you and what you do with your business now, or as a person. Just who would you say has been a really amazing mentor, coach, role model in your life?
Yeah, probably some of the ones that I think about are some of the early coaches that established the industry. Thomas Leonard, for instance, was very impactful, but he died too young. And people like that showed me that you can have an impact by helping other people. You don't have to do all of it yourself. Because I have a lot of things in the world that I'd like to fix, as we all do, all right? But I don't have the time or the resources to do all of it. So my way is to help other people and support them who are doing that. And that's a way to magnify my impact.
Awesome. Perfect. Well,
You said
Thank
you
you,
had a
Tom,
second?
for helping. Yes, I do. My second question is, are you reading a book right now? And if yes, or what is the last book you read? What book have you recently read? And what is one thing from it you would like to share, like an insight or a tip or a suggestion?
The one I'm reading right now is called The Advice Trap,
Okay,
and it's written by a guy named Michael Bungay Stanier.
to write that
Yeah,
down.
he has a phenomenal sense of humor. I actually had a chance to see him on a video a few weeks ago, and so
Okay.
I thought, yeah, I want to pick up his book and find out what else he's up to. But he really explores in this book the idea of um, coaching is not about giving people advice.
Right.
And when you think it is, then it's a big trap, because basically the world gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it migrates away from what your client really needs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What the client typically needs is they need their thinking expanded. They need options.
Mm.
And even when they ask you to say, well, what would you do? The truth is, what I would do is probably not the right thing for you.
Yeah, right,
The
right.
world is complicated. And so that's a fabulous book. And I've actually been a part of a couple of different group discussions about that exact book in the
I
last week.
think that's fascinating. I might have to get that one because
Okay.
advice giving has such a typically a negative connotation if people give too much of it,
Yeah.
and at the same time, we all need to learn from each other and lean on each other when you have a trusted person nearby. I mean, you and I are both advisors in many areas of our lives, so there's definitely different ways to define that word, but that sounds
The
like a
fascinating thing about this book is that his primary audience was not coaches, it was managers.
okay.
Okay, because
Oh,
managers fall into this in spades, where you think it's your job to manage the heck out of something, and so
mhm.
you got to tell people what to do. And sometimes you think you're being helpful by giving advice as a manager,
Mhm.
and often it really isn't that helpful.
So, Carl, do you think there's like, how would you define the difference between advising and coaching? Because clearly, if someone's like, Cindy, how do I get better at my monotone? I'm going to coach them through how to do that, but you would not consider that advice. Is that accurate?
Well, you can talk about things that you've seen work for other people, best practices in the industry, perhaps
Right.
things that worked for you personally.
Hmm.
But if I were to come to you, um, having examples from you personally might not work for me,
Hmm.
because you're a woman, I'm a man, and we're speaking different registers, and
Sure.
right. I mean, there's a lot
Oh,
that's
yeah.
different between us.
Sure.
And so what is best is, how can you pull out from that client what's best for them?
Mm.
Okay, so you have them try things and you give them
Sure.
feedback. You
Sure.
have them play around and you
Hmm.
give them some feedback and say, let's try something else. We're just playing here, not
Sure.
serious. We're just going to play.
Right.
All right. And that opens up possibilities. And that's a lot of what I do with my clients. And
Hmm.
sometimes I even do use the word "let's play" here. I,
Yeah.
it, just
I think
as a
people like
way to,
that too. People like
yeah,
it to
sure,
feel like it's a playground and we're just going to toss. That's one of the things I like about post-it notes in my brand program. I'm like, no, there's no wrong answers. Any word can go on the board. We're not, nixing anything until we need to narrow it down. But yeah, ooh,
right.
that's that's an interesting topic. I think that would be fun to unpack a little bit. Maybe we'll have to do a follow-up conversation or something.
Maybe that
Yeah,
might be a fun one. So
awesome. Well,
anyway,
thank you, Carl. This was really
you
fun.
bet.
Thanks for walking us through the top three pieces here: value for your customers, value for the company, value for the world. What are those to you and your business? If you would like to reach out to Carl, I'll put the information in the notes section. But until next time, thank you so much, Carl, for coming in today.
All righty, thank you, and stay safe, stay healthy,
Yeah,
you and everybody else here.
that's right. Everybody watching, thanks for being here. And until next time, get out there and go nail it. Have a great day.
All right, bye bye.